Good morning all. I'm on my way into Paris. It's the 3rd of October. Paris Fashion Week is in full swing. I'm not attending the Fashion Week, but there's a conference happening in Paris around the same time called Le Derman du Luxe. And there are about 30 aspirational brands in attendance. I'm going because I'd specifically like to see Hermes, Celine. They're going to be dissecting some of their products, talking about the craft, the details, and there are also a number of the French schools, and I would like to get a better understanding of what Made in France means. But I've also packed my schedule with a number of meetings, and there are two brands I literally stumbled upon earlier on this year. I'm super stoked about, and I'm going to be seeing them as well, having a really good conversation with the brands. And what I'll do is just touch base with you during the course of the next 3 days, touch base every day, and just let you know what I've been up to, the things I've discovered, and just what you have to look forward in the coming months on my channel. So stay tuned. I'll see you when I'm in Paris. I was foolishly optimistic in thinking I would have oodles of time at the end of every day to gather my thoughts and talk about the highs and lows of each day. Paris was fast, it was furious, it was hectic. And I was mentally exhausted at the end of every day and just didn't have the capacity to be able to gather my thoughts and talk about each day. So this video is being recorded after Paris. And I'm going to split it into 3 sections and dedicate a day to each section. The first day, I was focused on meetings around my own personal development, as well as exploring a number of new brands. The first appointment, I went to see a French brand called Maison Poussin. It's the oldest French buckle maker, started in 1830, initially as a family-run business, but now it's owned by a French businessman. And I really wanted to understand hardware. And I think Maison Poussin is one of the best examples. It's a brand a good number of the aspirational brands have bought their hardware from, then possibly started creating custom pieces with the whole hardware function in-house. But it's a solid brand, tried and tested, typically business to business. You typically need to order 10 pieces, a minimum of 10, or if it's something custom, 50. But if you're an individual like myself, wanting to just buy a one-off piece, you can only buy them online. But I like Maison Poussin. A lot of artisans use their products. They're fantastic, they're consistent. And I wanted to understand what constitutes good quality hardware. All of their hardware is primarily made from brass, solid brass. They're also focused largely on saddlery, hardware for the saddlery industry, but they do craft hardware for a wide array of leather goods businesses think of, all the hardware you'd need for a handbag, if you're going to attach buckles, for example, onto shoes, key holders, buckles for belts. I also remember seeing an absolutely exquisite brooch. I nearly pulled the trigger, but I thought I don't actually like horses. But what I liked was the detail and the craft. It was absolutely beautiful, really well handmade brooch, and I liked it for the craft. It was wonderful, and it was such an eye-opening experience, just learning about hardware, solid brass, and then they add different platings on top, and they don't tarnish, the different platings that they have, and just the wear and tear, just getting a better understanding of hardware. From there, I then dashed over to the tanner's agent, but on my way, I passed an Instagram bakery called Mamiche, and I saw a massive queue and thought, oh, that's Mamiche. Poked my head through the door, liked some of their pastries, but I'm allergic to queuing, and asked a couple of other brands I saw within the area. And they said, oh, they have a very strong marketing department. Their pastries are okay. They're not absolutely spectacular, but I still would like to try something. If I'm ever in the 9th arrondissement again, and there isn't a queue, I'll definitely go in. Have any of my viewers actually been to Mamiche? Is there anything you liked, anything you'd recommend? Do let me know in the comment section. And then on my way to the tanner's agent, I walked past an interior decor store. And I remember thinking, oh, I liked what I saw in the window. Carried on walking, stopped 10 seconds later and thought I actually liked it enough to go back and explore. Went back and ended up spending 20 minutes I really didn't have, but I really liked the brand. Maison Levy is a family-run business, started by a husband and wife duo, and now their daughter is heavily involved. She's pretty much the front runner of the brand. And what caught my attention was the simplicity of their designs. They were incredibly arresting. They were stunning in their simplicity. And I just thought, oh gosh, I really like that. And then the time we spent together, I was able to get a better understanding of just the quality of the materials they use, the printing, the ink, the wear and tear, the high quality of their products. And I thought, wow, this is beautiful. And I will create a short about the brand. I'll also talk about the brand in a napkin video. I have a number of brands I'd like to talk about in a napkin video. I liked their napkins. I like the variety they're bringing into the napkin video, something different, but a high quality product. And then from there, dash to the tanner's agent. The tanner's agent, I really wanted to understand chrome tanned leather. I've spoken about it in numerous videos, and there are varying levels of chrome tanned leather. I've spoken about, for example, brands like Pelen and Lorna, for example, where the color has lifted and you see a white base on the underside. And that's typically chrome tanned leathers that are more mid to the lower end of the market. But I wanted to see the top end. What do top end chrome tanned leathers look like? And I like the fact that they're tanned the whole way through. So if you do split or crack or tear or do whatever damage to the leather, on the underside, you'll still see the same color on the top the whole way through the leather. You don't see any white detail, for example. So it was just appreciating that and also getting to see really exquisite Italian vegetal tanned leathers. So that was a really good experience in terms of just firsthand seeing and learning about chrome tanned leathers. And then the afternoon was spent exploring new brands. The first brand is a brand I commissioned a card holder from. Absolutely delighted with my card holder. And I really like this brand. This has actually been one of my best finds for 2025 and my channel as a whole. And it's a brand that's custom focused. It's a one-man band, and it's the base. When it comes to custom products, this will be the base, as in the minimum I expect from all the brands. What I saw and experienced from this particular brand. It's a brand called Barbazan. And their products are more everyday, affordable level of luxury in terms of the prices, but you're getting an absolutely superior product that's more of the bespoke level of luxury quality. I was absolutely blown by the quality of the products and the overall experience, and I'll talk about that in a separate video. The second brand I went to see was also a custom focused brand, but focused on men's bags and the top end of the market. So the bags were typically 3,000 to 10,000 euros a pop. Really liked the brand, mentioned I would talk about their products on social media, and I thought we absolutely hit it off with the brand. I really liked the brand. I liked what I saw. I liked the details. I liked the craft. And we went through all of the bags individually and the level of craft and detail that the artisan put into each bag. And then a couple of days later, artisan said, oh no, I don't want to talk about the brand on social media, which I thought was such a shame. And I don't know what changed because the vibe, the energy was really good, and I liked the brand, and I would really have wanted to talk about it. It's an absolutely stunning brand. But all is not lost, because everything I learned, I saw, I experienced with the brand, I can still use in other ways in my content. So all is not lost. And then the final brand I went to see in the evening, I was absolutely exhausted and I was ready to literally go to bed. But it ended up being a cocktail party stroke learning about a new brand. It's a knitwear brand called Waste Yarn Project. I like them for two reasons. Firstly, I like the quality of their products, but also the fact that they craft 80% of their products in China. I'm a huge fan of Made in China. And I'm putting together a video of brands that are primarily focused on crafting their products in China, just to demystify this whole negative association that Made in China is negative. It's incredibly positive. You just have to know what you are doing in China. And Waste Yarn Project is a wonderful case in point. So do stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't. I'll talk about Waste Yarn Project together with other Made in China brands, Western brands, as well as Waste Yarn Project in the knitwear video. The second day was a mixture of housekeeping and exploring another 3 new brands. On the housekeeping side, I popped into Fleuron. I'd actually gone in to see Cézanne, located right next to Fleuron, the biggest Cézanne. I just wanted to get a feel for the brand in their home territory. Fairly sizable store, bought a couple of pieces, and then went into Fleuron. Fleuron still have the styles I've spoken about in the video attached above, and they had 2 new styles, the Boston and also the Oak, which I'll talk about in a separate video together with what I saw at TANNEUR and also BONASTRE. And then from there proceeded on to Lemaire, saw BONASTRE. I've been asked by a number of you my thoughts on the rider bags. I wanted to see the rider bag, the different sizes, the different leather options, and also stumbled upon a new tote which comes in 2 sizes, and the bigger size comes in a number of colors, and there's also a reversible variation of the tote which is absolutely exquisite. It comes in black and also a rich oxblood red color. And from there proceeded to Le Foy. I had intended to order a bag. Jerome, the owner of the brand, had taken all of the bags to an exhibition, Premier Class, that was taking place in Paris during the same weekend. And I hadn't realized this, so I turned up at the store wanting to still look at some bags and figure out which one I was going to order. And Jerome suggested going over to Premier Class, which I would have gladly done if my schedule had been a lot more forgiving, but I just simply didn't have the capacity to be able to go over to Premier Class. So I will order my bag next time and I'll keep you posted. Also saw 3 new brands. The first one, Lemaire. Lemaire is a brand I've been stalking for 2 years. I like their clothes. Unfortunately, being petite in height and build, their clothes tend to be a bit too big. They're a little too oversized for my frame. Did see some knitwear that I liked and might even pull the trigger. But I really wanted to explore their bags. Went to their accessory store on Place des Vosges and saw a good selection of their bags, as well as a couple of new bags in the store on, I think it's Rue de Élysée. Really like the brand and would like to talk about it on my channel, offering unisex styles. So fantastic win-win for both my male and female viewers. Also saw another brand for the first time that I really like. It's within everyday affordable level of luxury. I like the variety, I like the quality, I like the fact that it's an entirely made in France story. I like the fact that you actually see the artisan's details and the date on the bag. It's a brand called Bleu de Chauffe. And I will talk about that, I think later next year, because I'd actually like to see them in their home territory, possibly if I can visit their workshop, because I like the brand. And I particularly liked their tote. I like the tote because it's similar in style to the pliage from Longchamp. And I thought, offer my viewers something a little different. It is open on top, but I like the color option. I just like the whole look and feel, the construction of the tote. And then also explored another new brand called Césaire. Husband and wife duo behind the brand met up with the husband and really liked the brand. It's very much a design-led brand. It's all about the design. The designs are exquisite. They're beautifully executed. I like the versatility of the design. Some of the bags have numerous carrying options. And I also like the high quality of the leathers, and I like the price point. It's a beautiful brand. Again, I will talk about in a separate video, but I really enjoyed my time exploring Césaire and really learning about it from the husband, because he knew all of the details, and every single question I had, he was able to very confidently answer. And then the evening, literally just before Printemps closed, I went to see an exhibition that was taking place on the 6th floor called Sac, 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 More Than a Bag. A very big thank you to one of my subscribers, Catherine, who mentioned the exhibition to me. Thank you, Catherine. And I popped in to take a look, and it's an exhibition that was focused on the handbag and the evolution of the bag. The functionality, it looked at new up-and-coming designers, it looked at iconic styles, it looked at bags from a technical perspective. There was just a lot going on all around the bag, everything you need to know about bags. And what really stood out and was actually the highlight of that visit was the fact that 2 new brands I've just recently spoken about. The first one, Fian 618, they had 2 styles exhibited at Sac Sac Sac. The first, they're front running the Philomène, really happy to see that. And then the second style, the pleated tote, which I've also spoken about, was also exhibited, and I saw it together with Le Foy, and Le Foy's front running style, the paper bag, that was also exhibited in there, and I really liked that. new up-and-coming designers with really interesting, game-changing designs. So it was an evening incredibly well spent. I literally turned up half an hour before they closed. So it was quiet, there weren't a lot of people. It was very easy to walk around and read everything and just take in the exhibition because there was a lot going on. And I just liked the fact that it was every single thing you'd ever really need to know, understand about bags. So a very big thank you to you again, Catherine. And then the third day was a mixture of housekeeping, and then I spent the bulk of the day attending a conference at Grand Palais, Le Demain du Luxe. Early part of the day housekeeping, I went to see Le TANNEUR, and specifically their flagship store located on Boulevard du Capucine. If you are a fan of Le TANNEUR, you're exploring, actively exploring, and really want to buy a bag and want to get a good understanding of the brand, that is the perfect store. In my first video where I spoke about Le TANNEUR, I'm going to attach the video above, I didn't mention their front-running style, the Emily. I was able to see the Emily. It comes in 3 different style variations. I was also able to see the Atelier section with the Sans Couture bag, which is made in-house. You have an appointment, and over the course of an hour and a half, they can craft the bag. You can mix and match colors, designs, straps, for example. Absolutely beautiful. And then I was also able to see the Made in France range. 2 different styles, the Louise and also the Madeleine. Madeleine comes in a shoulder bag option, but I was focused more on the hobo stroke messenger bag, which is a unisex bag, comes in 2 different sizes, looked at both sizes, and absolutely stunning. They use leathers from Remy Carriat. Remy Carriat is one of the top tanneries in France, focused on bullskin, so it's thick, sumptuous leather. And the Madeleine bag, the particular one that I looked at, and I'll talk about in a separate video in a short together with other brands, specifically the Madeleine in a short. When it comes to the bag with the highest level of craft for Le TANNEUR, it's the Madeleine. It's absolutely stunning, beautifully made, a well-executed style. And so from Le TANNEUR, I then proceeded on to the conference. The conference was a mixture of, I wanted to see some of the brands exhibiting, I wanted to be able to network, and I also wanted to be able to speak to some of the schools because I really want to get a better understanding of what does made in France mean. The only issue really is the language barrier, but I'm sure there's a way around that. Also had the chance to go around and see a number of luxury brands exhibiting, had a good look at Hermes. They had an artisan, of course, who was crafting a mock Kelly, so it was good to see the saddle stitch in practice and just seeing the Kelly coming together. There were other experts from Hermes talking about the hardware, talking about the leather as well, which was great. But for somebody like myself who has a little more experience, exposure to leather goods, it was a fairly basic conference, very well attended, but it was good because it was typically consumers just wanting to see the brands, experience the brands, have a little play with some of the products. There were exhibitions happening and consumers were able to do different things, edge coat, craft a wallet, for example, which was great. And it was good to see elements of the business and also just network. And I really enjoyed that part. The networking was the highlight for me. So that was my weekend in Paris. It was fast, it was furious. There was a lot going on, but I'm incredibly happy with what I learned, what I picked up on, the foundations I've put in place for the next trip. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I have a lot of content coming through, not just leather goods, but just across the board. As always, any thoughts, any comments, any questions, let me know in the section down below.